And then if they join, they'll join. I assume there's nobody in the waiting room or anything like that. Okay, so it's about 7:02. I'm calling this December 16, 2020 Historical Commission meeting to order. Director Koike, can you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Klinger?
Can you unmute?
Oh.
No, he needs to unmute.
Oh, here. Commissioner Warstadt? Commissioner Zaremski? Oh. Okay. Commissioner Russell?
Also on mute. I'm not the only one.
My lips. Sorry about that. Present.
Commissioner Pepper? Commissioner Fernandez?
Present.
Chair Morocco?
Present. Did you get a yes from Commissioner Warstadt? Because she's on the gallery, but I don't. Did she announce her presence?
No. Commissioner Warstadt? Okay.
Well, we have a quorum, so we'll start. And if she joins us, then we'll add her to the roll. Commissioner Fernandez, welcome to our Historical Commission. Would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Commissioner. If you'll look to the flag and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you very much, Commissioner Fernandez. We have a full meeting today. I do have some protocol pieces that I want to go over because we're on Zoom and we have this interesting format. So just so we all are clear, a purpose of the commission, and this is from the ordinance, is to investigate, maintain, and catalog all historic information, documents, records, and pictures that would be of general interest to the city and its citizens, to compile records and recordings, to promote the keeping of written historical record of the city in a narrative form, to be an advisory board, and to perform volunteer services at the Redondo Beach Historical Museum. Now, I've watched a couple other Zoom meetings and there's supposed to be a hand function somewhere. I didn't see it. So here's my suggestion. I do want everybody to have an opportunity to speak. Some of you may not have foam fingers like I do, but if you want to raise your hand, I will go through the sequence and call on the people. You can wave. Like Commissioner Klinger did. You want to hold up a piece of paper if you don't want to hold up your hand indefinitely, or a book or something to let me know that you're interested in talking, and then I'll get an opportunity to call on you. So that the only exception to that is you can present a motion when you raise your hand and get recognized. The only exception is if I'm going to ask for receiving and filing report, and then just feel free to blurt out that you are moving that way, and you can have a second blurted out as well. When we get to the consent calendar, which is coming up relatively quickly, just know that you have the right as a commissioner to pull something from the consent calendar and put it on the accepted calendar. So for many of you, this may be a new thing, but just know that that right remains with you, and you can see on the calendar that there are 4 items under the consent calendar. Okay, moving along. So now we go to item D, which is approving the order of the agenda. And I do have some introductory comments on that as well. Our commission bylaws state in Article 6, Section 1, that all matters intended for action or information shall be submitted to the commission in an agenda prepared by the city clerk or his or her designee and or pursuant to the instructions by the commission. And from our administrative policy manual, 2.12, the staff liaison and the chairman of the commission will collaborate in the development of meeting agendas. And just so you know, the Brown Act only lets us discuss it should be a real easy process. I still am amazed at this process. So I'm going to ask our director a question shortly, but I do want at least to get into the record that, and Commissioner Pepper, I would like to note for the record, if you can wave your hand so we know that you can hear us. He is present, so he should be added to the list of attendees. Anyway, on December 3rd, I sent the director a draft commission meeting agenda, and I also followed up with previous staff reports on each item. The agenda that was posted on December 10th did include certain items that the commission had wanted reported at every meeting, such as our moment of history, the Arcadia publishing report. I'm sure Commissioner Klinger will share his views with regards to the Hopkins Wilderness Park that was up for unanimous vote the last meeting to put on the agenda. So I'm still confused, and before I ask for somebody to move to approve the order agenda, I was hoping that you, as director, Koike, can explain your thought process in deciding what should be on the agenda, what should not be on the agenda, what should not be included in the agenda packet, so that we, as a commission, can try to make our motions very specific if we want something, for example, at the next meeting in February.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this was a little bit of a challenging agenda for me. I began, John LaRock left, we had a quick transition. I started on November 3 and didn't have the typical amount of time to prepare an agenda. So it was a very good conversation with Chair Morocco. There were a lot of things that were suggested, and I basically chose, do you have a question? Chose specific ones that frankly could be done on time, and to at least include some of those that you did suggest.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the order of the agenda? Okay, Commissioner Klinger?
Before approving the order of the agenda, I'd just like to clarify with our staff person that does our prioritization of certain items to have on the agenda have any impact on the city staff? Because regarding having Hopkins Wilderness Park separately, rather than having it discussed as part of the joint fundraising subcommittee, was something that we've prioritized in the past meeting. So do prioritization of agenda items have an impact on staff when it comes to creating the agenda?
It does, and that is one reason that we have the discussion of goal setting and formation of subcommittees. In that particular case, I knew that we had some new commissioners coming in, and that it would be a very good opportunity to listen to both those who are tenured members and those who are new, to kind of start off the new year with talking about interests and goals. And, did not mean to or intend to ignore the Wilderness Park, knowing that it will be discussed tonight, and then the commission can, suggest or recommend that it be included in the future agenda.
I just wanted to know the process behind it, because it does get discussed under a fundraising subcommittee, but it's also something that's so vital that, like, in the future, it's something that should have its own agenda item rather than just to be kind of subsumed on it. And thank you for clarifying that for me.
Right.
So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Is that Commissioner Pepper or Commissioner Russell?
Russell.
Commissioner Russell. Just before you call the roll, Commissioner Worstad, are you on the line? Okay, we're still not hearing anything from Commissioner Worstad, so call the roll.
Oh, Commissioner Klinger,
Aye.
Commissioner Worstad. Oh, Commissioner Zaremski. Commissioner Russell,
Present.
Commissioner Pepper,
Present.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Present.
Rocco.
Okay, I do want to point out something.
Yeah.
I'm an aye also. Just know the rules of this that the council, I guess, has given us is if you're going to, you're allowed to abstain from a vote, but if you do abstain, you have a responsibility to explain to the commission. You're better off saying aye instead of present, because present tends to have a connotation of you're abstaining. Commissioner Klinger, you had a comment?
First, I would suggest that Commissioners Fernandez and Pepper unmute themselves because we don't get a whole lot of background noise, and sometimes you would be able to make a quick comment. And then when we vote, it's usually aye, nay, or abstain because the other ones could become a little bit unclear as to how you voted. Like present could be reviewed as abstained in the notes. So with that said, since we've only had 2 ayes, can we have another vote on this? Motion to approve the order of agenda.
Sure. I don't have a problem with that.
All right, ready? Commissioner Klinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Worstad. Commissioner Zaremski. Commissioner Russell.
Aye.
Commissioner Pepper.
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Aye.
And Chair Morocco.
Aye. So we have the order of agenda. I do note that Vicki Cronenberg is still on the line. If it's possible, can you check with Commissioner Worstad to see if there's a technical problem as to why her video is, it looks like she's joined us, but we can't hear her or see her.
We'll reach out to her via email to see if we can assist.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we move to the blue folder items, which is item E. I believe we have at least one blue folder item.
Correct, Chair Morocco. A little after 3 o'clock today, a blue folder item email was sent to you for item F4, path of history, that shows an update of the project of itself.
Okay, thank you. And since my understanding is we still have to vote on including blue folder items, is there a motion to include the blue folder item?
Motion to include blue folder items.
Thank you, Commissioner Klinger. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay.
Right. Roll. Commissioner Klinger,
Aye.
Commissioner Worstad, Commissioner Zaremski, Commissioner Russell,
Aye.
Commissioner Pepper,
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Aye.
and Chair Morocco.
Aye. Okay, so that passes, and now we move to the consent calendar. If you notice from your agenda, there are 4 items on the consent calendar. Does somebody wish to move something from the consent calendar to the excluded consent calendar? Okay, then I will move the path of history, which is F4, if there's a, I don't need a second on that, to the excluded consent calendar. So that means I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent calendars, item F1, affidavit of posting, F2, approval of the October 21st, 2020 minutes, and F3, the museum donation report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Klinger. Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Russell. So all those in favor of approving the consent calendar items with the exception of F4 at this point, say, well, is there a shortcut we can do without doing a roll call every time? Like have everybody raise their hands and you can note that everybody raised their hands?
I have no issue with reading it. I think it might help the minute secretary as well.
Okay.
Commissioner Klinger?
I believe in the past, what we could do on fairly non-controversial motions is just have everybody say aye at once, and if there was no nays, then we would just accept it as unanimous by the commissioners that are present.
That would be Chairman Rocco's call on that.
I don't have a problem with that. All those in favor that say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, there are none. Any abstentions? Okay, so that we've now moved to the next part of the calendar. Actually, I think I missed.
Morocco, we have for the record, there are no public comments on e-comments or Zoom for the items that just got approved under the consent.
Thank you. I was about to get to that. I appreciate that. We do take before the votes, we do get public comment in it, and it's built in some of the other parts that I'll be talking about. So now let's get to the excluded consent calendar item, and that is item F4, so path of history. So can I get a staff report on that?
Basically, the path of history started as a leadership Redondo class in 2002. And it was basically to place historic markers throughout the city. And I have listed here the objectives, and I won't read all of them, but it's to basically encourage visitors, residents, and to learn more about the city. Redondo Beach has a lot of unique history and culture, which many of us are still learning about. And then also to enhance pedestrian walkways with signage and photographs and information. The three of the markers were installed in 2004. By the leadership class. And then a fourth marker was completed in the spring of 2005. And the last one, which ties into the blue folder item, was the last one that was completed in 2009. As you'll see, there are many more. When the leadership class came up, created this program, you could tell by the report that they had a lot of different ideas. I think 24, in fact. So there's a lot of growth left in this project. And when talking to our director of finance about this, Chair Morocco did ask for an update on the balance of the funds that are in the account for specifically this project. And it's currently at $8,993. So basically what the city did is they moved the funds into a capital improvement fund. And then obviously there's that money and also the ability for fundraising opportunities as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any public comments on item F4?
There are no public comments for item F4.
Okay, so the reason I pulled this as an accepted item is I had a couple of questions, and I think I want to request we take action on certain things. So if something's in the capital improvement project fund, are we able to add to that as a capital improvement fund? Because it is an active donation process.
The donation process, as I understand it, could be a parallel path. So you can have, if you decide to have a committee or you have people involved in fundraising, that would be one pot of money. In my staff report, I did mention, since it's a CIP fund, a capital improvement project fund, the commission could, at budget time, make a request to the city to add funds or to appropriate some funds specifically for this account. So again, you have two different opportunities. One could be a potential growth of CIP funds during budget time, and then also fundraising. And I believe that during budget time, you would hear, I don't know, last year, if the city manager addressed your commission, but there's always that opportunity to ask for funds.
Okay, and do you know how much money needs to be in that account before we get the next sign posted?
No, I don't know. I think I think I read somewhere, maybe in your notes, that would have to be researched.
Okay, and
It's been
so
a while, right, since we've had one made.
I'm going to be saving that for my staff report, but that is one of the questions. How much money do we need to raise? Because the numbers I saw were related from 2004, and we're now a long way past there. So one of the things I mentioned at our last meeting, and this is what I'm asking for a vote, there's a lot of potential places. I don't know if any of you have ever seen any of these Path of History signs. There's one right by the library and City Hall that talks about some stuff. There's some at the beach, and if you look through the material, you'll see what it looks like. But I had raised the point, since everybody's closed now, that we should explore having an electronic form of the Path of History, and I would entertain a vote for having this part of our commission thing is promoting an electronic Path of History. When we talk about subcommittees, I'll explain how that would work. And I also think that since the original Path of History centers around the original city and not the annexed North Redondo stuff, we need to start identifying North Redondo locations, and that would be particularly important if we decide to do it electronically. But this is something that we could actually do electronically during the course of a year. Yes, Commissioner Klinger.
To speak to your point, and I'm glad that North Redondo is included, because we do have something that has become a little bit in our hearts, and that is Ferry Park, that I think should have its own unique Path of History. We have the youth center and the senior center, and so it would be something very cool to have that part also be on Redondo's Path of History. I don't know if you guys have been there, but most of the people that I know in North Redondo visited it at least a couple of times, and I go there at least once or twice a week. So it would definitely be something that we could do electronically on the Path of History, and I'd be willing to contribute to that by sending in photos and stuff. But Chair Morocco, as far as I understand, is your motion to have a subcommittee to promote an electronic version of the Path of History?
I'm the presiding, so I can't necessarily make the motion, so I will actually entertain. I think I can still make a second, but I would entertain a motion to have a subcommittee formed specifically to undertake creating an electronic Path of History for our city website and picking some Northern Redondo sites. So if you would like to move that, that would be great.
Can I suggest a friendly amendment?
Sure. I haven't made a motion, so you can make the motion as you want.
Right, so I will make the I'll make the motion exactly as Chair Morocco said. I would just add on to it that the Arcadia corridor, the Galleria, and the Ferry Park be heavily and the bike path be heavily considered as potential sites.
Okay, I would think that the subcommittee would come back with some recommendations that we would look at, but your motion is to have, do we have our, Cammie, do you want to read back what he said as the motion and see if we can get a second on that?
Making motions can be very confusing.
It does, yeah. And this doesn't lend itself well to actually having written motions that you can hand to the recording secretary. Okay, she's not responding. So your motion is to have a subcommittee for the Path of History, have An electronic path of history, pick northern Redondo sites, and that should include Perry Park.
Perry Park, the Galleria, the bike path, and the Arcadia corridor.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Russell seconded. Any further? Yes.
I believe that was Commissioner Hernandez.
Oh,
Fernandez.
sorry, Commissioner Russell. It's Commissioner Fernandez.
He moved the punch.
We'll get you other opportunities as well tonight. Okay. So is there any further discussion on this? Okay. Before you take the roll call, I see, yes, Commissioner Pepper.
I just had one question. Does the fact that the motion is being presented with certain specificities in any way change our activities down the road? Would we be in any way precluded from anything or required to do anything that we wouldn't normally do based solely upon the fact that these specificities are included with the original motion?
So one of the things that this motion is doing is getting a subcommittee formed. It's a preferred matter by Commissioner Klinger for these locations. The subcommittee is going to be coming back to the group and explaining these are the sites that we want to include. So, like for instance, the Galleria was known as South Bay Center for many years. That's going to be different. Commissioner Klinger, you wanted to respond differently?
Pepper raised an excellent point. So when we make motions, we have positive addendums and negative addendums. Positive addendums basically say, please take a look at these sites, but there's no limit. So for instance, you can choose 10 sites instead of 4 sites, or however many sites, then you should be fine. Negative addenda is basically saying, please only look at 4 sites, no more, and then you can't go above 5. So we like to keep our subcommittees very open to the subcommissioner's interpretation. So my motion is just that the subcommittee heavily consider these 4 sites, but the subcommittee can also reject them if that is the decision of what the subcommittee wants. It's just like, as a resident of North Redondo who has been here since 2000, those are the 4 sites that come up most often in the discussion that I've had with other residents, but this is not a restriction of any kind.
I thank you very much for the clarification.
Yes. Okay, so is there any other questions? Commissioner Worstad, are you with us finally? Okay, we still can't hear her. So go ahead, take the roll.
Okay.
No further discussion?
Chair Moroka, I did get a note that Katira is trying to assist Commissioner Worstad. All right. Roll call. Commissioner Klinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Worstad. Commissioner Zaremski. Commissioner Russell. Commissioner
Aye.
Pepper is an aye. Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Aye.
And Chair Morocco.
Aye. Before we move on to the next thing, I have Commissioner Worstad knows that she can also join us by telephone, correct?
Yes, I believe she's trying to connect by phone right now.
Okay. Okay, so that moves us through the excluded consent calendar. Now we're on the part that's called public participation on non-agenda items. For our new commissioners, this is an important part of our function, is to hear the views of the public on all matters. This is the part where they talk about things that are not on our agenda at this point. So, Ms. Nassif, are there any public members that wish to be participating in the public participation on non-agenda items?
No, we do not have any e-comments, and we don't have anyone logged on Zoom either.
Okay, thank you. We are happy when we get people in the audience coming to our meetings. Looks like Commissioner Warstad's on the phone. I think it's *6 to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Finally,
Welcome.
I've been your smiling faces. Good evening, and I'm hearing everything, and it was a technical issue with the laptop. I still have that on with no volume. I'm on the phone now.
Okay, so if you want to be recognized, just chime in or somehow make some sort of audible sound so your yellow box kind of highlights itself so we know that you want to talk. Okay, so now we go to items continued from previous agendas, and this one's actually for our director. Can you clarify, you put this item on the agenda, do we have anything that we need to include on this?
No, and this is a standard agenda for commissions. So you're always going to see that, but no, there are no discussions forwarded from prior agendas.
So now we move to a discussion prior to item action, and this is probably going to take the most time. At the last meeting, we voted to have 20 to 30 minutes. I believe Director Koike thought that we probably would want more. We have now a fully staffed commission, which we haven't had in several years. So the purpose of this session is getting our commission work done. We have to move the ball forward, and then the body can respond as a group to projects that we were doing. We are now meeting every 2 months instead of once a month, so things kind of need to be progressing because the Brown Act limits us to certain actions only when we all get together as a group and have a quorum. Life happens. Sometimes people can't make the meetings, that we don't have a quorum, which was a problem when I first joined. Sometimes you think things will be on the agenda and aren't, so, or we have a shutdown of our public meetings again, if that happens. So the goal is to get our goals out there, involve and keep the public informed of our deliberations. And so it's kind of an opportunity to lay it all out there. We have 5 relatively new commissioners, 2 that are for the first meeting tonight. So it's your opportunity to introduce yourself, for us to find out what do we do that would interest you and what you hope to and want to accomplish as a commissioner. So here's how I think we should navigate the discussion. And so you and the public know what we're doing. We're going to start off with the staff report, setting it up. We're going to see if there's any public comment. I'm going to introduce the 6 standing committees. And for those of you who have the agendas in front, you can see some of it in there. We're going to talk about other possible committees so that hopefully it'll spark something that says, hey, I would really like this. This would be something I would want to do to accomplish as a member of this committee. And then we'll go around and introduce each other and find out what interests you have, hope to accomplish, any committee you want to serve on, any committees you think we should form that you may want to serve on. We use the word subcommittee a lot because that's what the bylaws use, but in reality, committees and subcommittees are interchangeable. What I'm going to hope that we can do is get some subcommittees formed today, get some people on it. You may not want to volunteer to be on multiple subcommittees. You may have one project that just interests you completely. For our newer members, you may not want to make the time commitment to serve on a committee today. Hopefully, we'll have an opportunity at our next meeting so that you get a chance to figure out what you want to do or what you don't want to do and formulate your thoughts further so that we can, if this again gives you a chance to explore and assign. So if you don't volunteer for something today, no sweat. We're trying to get everything out there so you can figure out how to make your time the most meaningful possible. Commissioner Warstedt, you had a comment?
No.
Okay. I was just going in. So why don't we start with the staff report for this?
Yes, I've actually been looking forward to this, to hearing the discussion tonight. I think it's a special opportunity with a good mix of tenured commissioners and also all of the new commissioners. as noted in the reports at the October meeting, there was a unanimous vote to set aside time to talk about goals and subcommittees, and also to talk about subcommittees. My understanding is also that you typically or in the past have had reports given by the different subcommittees. So it also provides an opportunity for verbal reports if there are updates to report from on those different subcommittees. So
Okay,
looking forward to the discussion.
thank you. Are there any public comments on this section?
We do not have any public comments for this item.
Okay, so for those of you who do have the agenda packets, you may want to refer to them because it kind of lists out a bunch of different things that we're talking about. So we have 6 committees that are formed now, and they're very broad in scope. So what we were hoping to do is just introduce you to these committees, tell you who's on them at this point, and kind of give you a flavor of what our goals are and what our projects are. So the first one we have is oral history. And this was as a goal to capture the history in oral form from as many of our 70,000 residents as we can. Its goal is to create opportunities to share history, to create oral history training programs that teaches and trains our students to conduct oral histories, to transcribe the histories, to just get out interest in the history. So that's what we're doing. So I'll give you an example. I'm setting up oral histories with different community members. Zoom actually lends itself very well to doing that because it has the record function that records it in MP3s. If you look at past meetings, you will see that we actually set up some protocols that we're going to be following for that. So that, and I'm right now the only person on it. The other person that was on that committee term was termed out. So there's an opportunity for people to be on that. Our projects, the oral history, you'll hear about one of them that was originally proposed, inviting guests to our meeting for a 10-minute oral history so they can present their histories to us as a body. A possible spin-off would be a training program as a separate committee, transcripts of our recording. So there's an opportunity there. So that's the oral history committee. The next committee is a joint fundraising committee, and that is Commissioner Klinger, I think, is the only person on that. So Commissioner Klinger, you want to explain what that committee is about?
Yep, and I'm sorry if I'm going to be looking over that way a little bit, but that's where I have the Word file, like summarizing the committee. But basically, this is the big one. It's a joint fundraising subcommittee that we've set up that allows us to work with subcommittees from other commissions, like library, parks and rec, vision, finance, and so on. This one, it's currently been suspended due to COVID, temporarily mothballed, but it's going to start back up right up. It can work with other commission subcommittees to fundraise on major projects, like over $5,000 per project. Infrastructure took a while to establish, and this is why we preserve it. And just to kind of give a flavor of the subcommittee, one of our sample projects for this one is to fundraise at the Hopkins Wilderness Park after it becomes a California Historical Landmark. For instance, I looked up the law on how to become a California Historical Landmark, and it said that the property is the most significant historical property of its unique type in the region, like in Southern California. The Hopkins Wilderness Park meets this criteria by being the only beach city wilderness park that currently serves as a campground, kid camp training center. It also served as a Nike missile defense site in the past, and it served as a Native American lookout for a Native American village. It provides the beach cities and South Bay with an incredibly unique history where we can, by working with our fellow commissions, establish a proud historical path from the Native Americans to the coastal development period through the Cold War and to its modern use as a landmark of California's natural revival. It's required that all nominations must be accompanied by written consent from the property owners, and they must have sufficient research to be substantiated by historic context statements and bibliographic documentation. And this is kind of exactly what we do. So as a subcommittee, we can reach out to Redondo Beach City Council. We can reach out to our local assembly member, Murasuchi, and he will take our calls. Our local state senator, Ben Allen. Janice Hahn is actually also quite good and responsive. And so that's just one of the projects that we'll be working on. Other commissions that can help us would include the Library Commission, Preservation Commission, Parks and Recs, and so on. So that is just kind of gives you a little bit of the flavor of how encompassing the subcommittee really is. And I do have a motion about the Hopkins Wilderness Park, since it's going to be a part of the subcommittee, but we'll go over that one in the summary. So that is this one. If you want to get very active and very involved and build out your connections, this is the one to be on. And I'll be, as chair of the fundraising subcommittee, I'll be contacting you come January, and we'll dive right into it. It's a very exciting project to be on. And on the Historical Commission, this has been one of the top 2 or 3 most exciting things that I've done. The other one was the Clara report and something else, the third one I'm forgetting. So that's roughly it on that one.
Okay. And I think you also are with the museum. Yes, Commissioner Cookie, you wanted to ask questions or no? Okay. You also are the museum fundraising committee.
Yes, on this one, basically we have a historical museum that we manage as a historical commission. It's right next to the Morale House up in, I forget the Dominguez Park. And so we just essentially, this is a subcommittee specifically to fundraise for that one and similar relatively minor fundraising events. We usually work with the Historical Society on that one, and we had a blast for Redondo Beach Day, where there was ice cream and a really great event that we put on there before COVID. And we had a little bit of a car show in the park, and everybody went out, and it was a great time, and it was very rewarding in terms of putting that one together. So that one is kind of like the smaller, more localized version of the joint fundraising subcommittee. That one is primarily limited to the Historical Commission.
Okay. And you have the Traveling Museum Committee.
Yep, this is the third one that I have. This one was has a primary purpose to enable Redondo Beach Unified School District students to design a mini traveling exhibit by utilizing artifacts that are currently overseen by the Redondo Beach Historical Commission. Because we have a lot of artifacts that we oversee, and most of them are in storage. So in the pre-COVID era, we thought it'd be great to develop a program where middle school and high school students can go through our artifacts, pick out the ones they want, and set up a mini mobile display on them. It would look great on their college applications, and it would really teach them a lot of the skills like organizational skills, time management skills, and setting it up and how to kind of run your own mini exhibit. And it would also provide the students with a very rewarding experience, and the parents would be thankful to us. And that's kind of how we revive interest back into the Historical Museum through this traveling museum exhibit done primarily by the high school and middle school students.
Okay. And then there's the marketing committee, and that goal is to increase the traffic at the museum, the foot traffic, to create interest in history, sharing history in our museum. With the pandemic, the current project is to bring the museum outside. So one of the things that we've looked at is historic murals close to the area where the museum is, so that there can be an opportunity for students that usually go to the museum to go learn a little bit about the history from the murals, but it also has an opportunity of increasing the hours and foot traffic there. We also promote our Arcadia publication. For those of you who haven't seen it, we actually get royalties from this postcard book called Redondo Beach for every sale. Normally we get a report with our meetings, but we promote this, and you can get it at bookstores, and we still get a royalty from it. So I think as a spin-off is probably to have the historical museums murals out there as an option on it. And you may wonder why Commissioner Klinger and I are the only two people right now on the committees, and that's because everybody has either left the commission. We have 5 new people, so there's lots of opportunities there. Yes, Commissioner Klinger.
Actually, several commissioners have been promoted to other commissions. Like, for instance, Commissioner Conroy, who played a key role on the Joint Fundraising Subcommittee, ended up going to Budget and Finance Commission because of that. And I believe Commissioner Berg is now on Planning Commission. So we learn a lot about commissions here, hang out, make a lot of friends. And then those of us that want to stick around, we can stick around or go on to other commissions. But Planning and Budget and Finance are 2 of the top 3 commissions, and at least 2 historical commissioners went on to those commissions.
Yes, Commissioner Berg was the other person on the marketing subcommittee with me. We also have the museum improvement, and I'm really sad that you didn't get a copy of the Clara report included in your packets. I actually did submit a timely report on that included the Clara report. So you're going to hear the word Clara a lot. We spent about $8,000 of our $10,000 that was in the bank on this marketing report to figure out how to upgrade our museum. And we got a presentation last summer. It has layouts and exhibits and just things that are there to improve the museum. You'll hear from some of the other possible committees. We have an opportunity to enhance it, and I will be at the end of when we do staff recommendation asking that it be sent to all members of the commission that haven't received it. Yes, Commissioner Klinger? No? Okay.
I was just going to say that now that the rest of you have heard a little bit about the subcommittees, I was wondering if you had any opinions or any feedback about it.
Commissioner Worstadt? No? This may be premature because I want to throw out different ideas out there so that when people have an opportunity to talk, they can say, okay, this is what interests me. This is something that I really want to do. This is something I think may want to do. So in your agenda packets, we have some possible other committees. We devoted tonight to have the Path of History committee that's going to identify potential markers and make it hopefully virtual. There's writing of the actual monuments. We have a possible other committee, the Moment of History. So I think it was last September, voted that we're the historical commission. We would like to share pieces of history with the community. So we voted to have a brief segment at each of our meetings that presents some history to fellow commissioners and to the public. Our staff person was the initial person who wrote up these short vignettes. They were like 1 or 2 paragraphs. But it probably makes sense because I don't think it's fair to impose on our current director to write up these events. So, the subcommittee would select a historic event person business for each meeting, prepare a short written statement of the item and present it in our commission meeting, and it'd be attached to the agenda. That's the Moment of History. Budget. As we heard with regards to the Path of History, we really need to understand this budgetary process. because there are certain deadlines that the city imposes for us. We get an allocation, but if we have projects that we want to do, we need to have somebody who's willing to learn about the city budget process, to all the deadlines, to help develop the budgets for our projects, and to advocate for our budgetary needs. So, for example, if we wanted to do transcriptions of people who do oral histories, in old days, we would have had to spend money to get a transcription done. We would need money in our budget. And I think we have $200 in our budget in our account right now. It's some really small number. So that would be what the budget person, and then when the budget process really hits, to advocate for our budgetary needs with the budget commission. Technology. So I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to visit our museum, but one of the things you'll see in the Clara report, and you would see it in some of the other stuff, is that we really do need technology upgrades. So one of the projects that this technology committee can do is coming up with QR codes, so that you can take your camera and you go to the museum and take a picture of it, and it'll tell you the story or link you to a website with the story on it. Video vignettes of different people. We have a lot of people on videotape already. There's stuff that can be narrated. Figuring out what the equipment requirements are that we would need to upgrade our museum so that we could do things like the QR codes and the video vignettes. And assessing our needs to deliver the stories about the museum and the items in the museum. So that's another possibility. Website, excuse me. I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to look at the website that we have on the city page, but there are some things that we may want to promote in there, such as what we want to include there. And this committee would work with the IT department, other staff, and the commission in figuring out what to add, whether we have something like, for example, we want to solicit donations either monetarily or, non-monetary stuff like letters and pictures and things like that. Stories, we had a section where they were collecting community stories at one time, and that was supposed to be collected over there. Links, we don't have any links on our website to other organizations such as the Historical Commission or the library that actually has on its website a bunch of historic postcards. So this would be a group that would make recommendations to the commission, to the staff, about how to expand what our content is on there. Historical murals, I can see that as a spin-off from the marketing committee. Then I brought this up at the last meeting. We have a city birthday in April, and we're getting close to another milestone birthday. Probably won't have anything going on this year in April, but it's something that we need to start getting into the gear and planning on city birthday and special events. In the past, we've had writing competitions coming out of our commission about historical topics, but one of the things we can explore in the future is maybe expand it to include student scholarships, so that people can actually, get some money to go to college. I think this is one of the areas that I asked Director LaRocque to look at the last time, is record preservation and cataloging our archives of stuff. We have a lot of documents sitting in the museum, but we don't necessarily know what's in our inventory over there. And then the last one I think would be interesting is if we have a pitch committee. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with Leadership Redondo, but they've done past historic projects such as the Path of History or Speaking of Redondo. This committee would come up with ideas to pitch to different leadership classes, which expands the number of people involved in what we can do, and we can prioritize how we want projects pitched, they tend to get things done, and it's an opportunity for us. So those are some of the thoughts about what I think we can accomplish. It's a long list. I think we have a great opportunity. We're at a good pivotal mark. You can see that these are some of the goals I have. Now it's a good opportunity for me to hear from you a little bit about yourself, what interests you have, why you wanted to be on this commission, anything that you would like to accomplish as a project. Our committees can have 1, 2, or 3 people. We're kind of limited by the Brown Act to 3 people, but I just want to get an idea of what, and I think Director Kohi said it well, what really would excite you as a project to do while you're actually on this commission. So I will take volunteers, or I can go and...
I'd be happy to go.
Commissioner Pepper.
I actually, when I got the call from Bill Brand, thought that I was to be on the Preservation Committee, so that when I got the news that I was on Historical, all the research I had done to preservation was, I learned about the Preservation Committee, so then I got to dig a bit into this one. And so I used to live on Guadalupe, and my neighbor actually was fortunate enough to have his grandmother and grandfather that had lived in Redondo since Guadalupe was dirt. And the stories about how it used to be around here, I think that there's a lot out there. But from what you just said, the part that struck me most was your openness to changing the way we could potentially provide content. I think that's one big difference. I've walked my dog at the dog park 1,000 times, and I've probably been in the buildings there once or twice. I read all the signs around town that you guys have put up, or your predecessors. But I think that in this day and age, content is only as good as the amount of people you can get to consume it. The virtual path of history, the idea of QR coding, everything in there, like getting that barrier to entry. So people have to do considerably less and less and less, and they can consume the content how they want to consume it, which oftentimes these days is in small chunks on a telephone. The fact that you guys are open to that I'm really glad I'm on this committee. I think that it's beyond smart. It's the way to go. I really don't know how I'm going to fit into that, but I really would like to. My background is kind of tech, so putting people and the stuff that they don't even know they want together and making it easy is really how you get content consumed. The wilderness part, the joint fundraising committee, like I just moved on to Fay Lane, Wilderness Park's right in my backyard. I had no idea. I learned more in, you'll forgive me for forgetting your name.
Ilya.
The gentleman, there's a lot there. Who knew? I mean, I would like to know that. I've been to Wilderness Park a dozen times. I didn't know any of that. Like, these are things I think that history is really important. And I think that our residents want to consume it. We just have to make it easy. I think that's the number one thing. People want to know, they want to consume, but when I have a supercomputer in my hand, like, how do you get those eyes up from that for 5 seconds to see something? Then I can, boom, hit that QR code or what? And these snippets. And I don't know. I guess the way to put it is I'm pretty excited to be on here. This sounds like there's a lot that's going to be happening. And I think that just by your opening remarks, Mr. Chairman, if that's the right word, the fact that you guys are open to it and you're thinking down those lines is 100% the right way to go. Like, that's the future. And I think that's how you get the history of Redondo into, my 5th grader, my 7th grader, my 8th grader's hands. Like, it's really difficult. Maybe it's not a writing contest like it was in days gone by. Maybe it simply is like when you were talking about that, it was like, maybe it's a mini Wikipedia, like in lieu of formal essays and whatnot. It is these smaller essays that are then still realized somehow with school or extra credit or whatever. But I think there are kids out there that, given just a small carrot, would create content. Because the other thing is, there's 10 things that you just read through, and there's not that many people on here, the committee overall. So it's about leveraging whatever outside resources you can get to actually get things done. And however you can do that is, because everybody has their life, and I got 3 kids. My daughter just walked in on me, but it really is about getting things. Aspirations are great, but getting things actually done it requires probably more than the people on the Zoom call. So if you have any specific questions, I guess all I can say is I'm happy to help.
Okay, so why don't I get everybody else's input, and then we'll come back and see if there's committees that you actually do want to be on. I know yours is your first meeting, and again, if you want to come back in 2 months and then kind of commit to it. And by the way, your work in prepping for historical preservation, there are so many interesting houses and stories in those houses that it's not going to be a waste. You bring an interesting additional perspective to this group that we can all learn from. I don't know if you found any of the old historical surveys that they did in the 80s. If you go to the North Branch, they actually have one. So it's surprising. I found a house on my street from 1922. So you learn so much, and you're going to be using it. And as far as your kids, if you can do an overnight camping thing in Wilderness Park, I think you'll enjoy that immensely as well. So, okay. So thank you, Commissioner Pepper. We'll circle back to you. Anybody else want to go next?
Can you still hear me?
Commissioner Warstadt. Yes, you're next.
I have a tremendous interest in Hopkins Wilderness Park for fundraising and anything else that additionally comes up when that is initiated as a historical landmark. Very interested in that.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What, besides that, what excites you historically?
Well, historically, Redondo, just the diversity, the rich history. I know that they name it Moonstone Park, and I know that area over there by the marina. And I wear a moonstone ring, which I didn't equate with that until learning recently just how much moonstone used to be collected, and I guess it was profitable in Redondo, and just so many just little hidden gems about our city, and just so much I want to really delve into and learn about. I just have a very keen attachment to Wilderness Park, of course, living here so many years and just spending time there and seeing and hearing just how much joy that place brings to individuals and families as well. And just excited to learn more.
Okay. Thank you. And we'll come back with you as well. I guess I'll go with my screen. Commissioner Fernandez.
Sure. I'm a new addition to this commission as well. I was excited to get the call. I had a desire to get involved with, our local government earlier this year. So I was happy to join this. I was a history major in college, so this was a great fit for me. I've been a resident of Los Angeles since 2003 and a resident of the South Bay since, I want to say, 2006. I love history. I think the stories that it tells are fascinating, and we can learn a lot from it. So I think there's a huge opportunity there. I'm a resident and I work here. I have a partner in an accounting firm. So some of the things that jumped out to me were the budget committees and joint fundraising committees, because I feel I can provide usefulness and value there on any of those. I also think Commissioner Pepper's idea of leveraging technology for getting the content of history into more people's hands, I think, is an excellent idea, and putting those ideas to work and execution will be a wonderful use of this committee. So if there's ways I can help it with that as well, I'm really interested to do that, just because again, history, it's learning where we are and where we've come from, I think helps to kind of guide us in where we're going in the future. So really excited to be a part of this committee and provide value to it.
Okay. Commissioner Russell.
So This is actually my second meeting, so I feel like I'm a veteran already. Not quite there yet.
Can you speak a little louder?
Can you hear me okay?
Barely.
There we go. Is that better?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so my dad actually grew up in Hermosa Beach, and my mom or my grandma moved to Hermosa Beach in like the 40s. So, you know, just kind of like the general South Bay area. I just kind of grew up in this area and I sort of known a little bit about the history. A lot of my family was in like the surfing world and just like kind of like going to the beach all the time. And I've kind of now lived in Redondo Beach since 2010, and I've lived in the South Bay since 2004. And now I have kids that are entering into kind of kindergarten, and next year will be first grade, hopefully. And so I just kind of wanted to get a little bit more involved in the kind of just city as a whole, and also just kind of learn more about my city, you know, and the city my kids are going to grow up in. I honestly didn't know very much at all about Redondo Beach's history, and so wanted to definitely change that. And, you know, also, and just kind of all these things we're talking about to Joel, Commissioner Pepper's point, you know, there just seems like so much opportunity to use like the latest and greatest technology, and even maybe like social media, or just kind of get these really cool stories out to the citizens of Redondo Beach. I think there's just so much opportunity to do that and just share all these cool, exciting, you know, whether it's pictures or documents or just stories in general. I think people would really latch onto that. So anything that I can get involved kind of maybe in that arena sounds like a lot of fun.
Okay. And Commissioner Klinger, anything more that you would like to share?
Well, the story of how I ended up on this commission is actually fairly interesting. I'm sure Chairman Rocco has heard it, so I'll tell a brief version of it. But basically, I work as a research analyst, and figuring out how the Olympics works is one of the hardest researches I had to do. And so I helped out Redondo Beach a little bit with bringing a couple of Olympic ceremonies and Olympic events here. And the city council worked with me, and they really liked it. And they liked it so much, they're like, send us your resume. So I did, and they're like, oh, BA History, you're on the Historical Commission. And I was like, they're like, you'll love it, come on, just go for it. And I've been here ever since. So I do have a BA in History. I remember a fellow historian, we were back in college, we were in a writers group. And we were the only two history majors there, and when one of the other history majors found out about it, he looked at the chair of the writer group and said, yes, your tyranny is over, historical power. So just kind of a interesting anecdote. To Commissioner Pepper's point, I've also camped at Wilderness Park as a kid. I loved every bit of it. And I've done it fairly recently. I mean, pre-COVID, but it was also really, really cool and interesting. And I think it's a great place to camp at any age. So it's just kind of something that can all bring us together. It's kind of this batch of untamed wilderness that we have in our otherwise very densely packed city. To Commissioner Swartz' point, there was a very interesting story from, I believe, one of the middle school students that built a beautiful butterfly habitat in Wilderness Park, and they needed funds from the city council to approve it. So the teacher started bringing up these cute little middle school students one by one. And by the end, the city council was like, okay, how much money do you need? Like, we can't say no to this. We're really sorry. And it wasn't much. So they approved that. And now the Wilderness Park has a butterfly habitat. So there's a lot of community attachments to it. To Commissioner Russell's point, I do a lot of marketing. I've analyzed social media trends for companies like Toyota, Samsung, right now AT&T, working with various marketing agencies like Saatchi & Saatchi right now with Kern. So I understand the power of social media. I've seen it firsthand, and that's why Chair Morocco and I are very open to all forms of it, because it's how people consume. We even had the, I think, 5:30-5 rule, or 5:30-3-5 rule, where basically you have 5 seconds to catch somebody's attention on YouTube, 25 seconds to get your ethos out there, like buying on the why, which Simon Sinek did a great video about, 90 seconds to make your pitch, and then once you have them, you have 3 minutes to convince them that they should get your product or watch your show. So that's kind of why certain YouTube advertisements, they just let you cut them off after 5 seconds, because they're like, if we didn't get your attention then, you can skip the ad. You're probably not going to pay attention. So definitely love the power of social media and the virtual path of history. I think that's something that would be very cool. And it sounds like there's a lot of interest in the joint fundraising subcommittee, which I love because this is something that's going to kick off in January. So, and I feel that we really should appoint 2 of the incoming commissioners to it, and then you'll try it before February, and then you could be like, I really want to stay on this, I love it, or get me out of here. And but that way at least we have that flow of January and February. So with that said, I do want to make a quick motion, assign that basically the purpose of the motion is to assign the Hopkins Wilderness Park to the fundraising subcommittee. So
isn't it there already?
So
Commissioner Klinger, is point of inquiry, isn't it already part of the joint subcommittee?
It is there already, but the joint subcommittee currently has authority to go out to other commissions and city council. They doesn't yet have the authority to go to state assembly, state senate, or LA County supervisor. And actually our mayor is fairly close with Janice Hahn, so she is fairly responsive to our inquiries. Also, Redondo Beach is a swing city in a swing district. So that always helps.
Okay.
So it's just
my concern is that we stay within the boundaries of what we're allowed, and I would want to hear the input from Director Koike as to, are there any obstacles for, I don't have a problem with you putting it in there, but I do, before you go talking to these state officials, find out what the council, if they have any protocols that they need followed in order to be able to do that. So
why don't I make the motion, and then you can decide if it's at all controversial.
Okay. Before you make the motion, I do want to hear from from Director Koike, since she's going to be working with us, if she has any thoughts with regard to projects that we can or should be doing.
I'm just looking at the October 21 minutes. I saw something that former Director LaRocque was going to look into just about that subject, about working outside of the city.
That was on fundraising that he was going to do, and actually that's in my staff referral request to find out if there's an update on it, but that was what he was looking at from what my recollection of the minutes. I think when you start talking about going to different political entities, there may be some policies. I don't have a problem having that as part, since our next meeting's in February, but I think you can get clarification beforehand.
When I was working with the Olympic subcommittee that was with the city council, we did have a similar point with Attorney Webb, and as long as it was broadly stated and the authority given wasn't much, it was fine. Like, we did go beyond the city council walls, and it worked out great, and we even ended up contacting somebody who was in Australia. So we've never had a issue with this before, and that's why I'm saying let me get the motion out there first, and then you can see if any part of it is actually controversial.
Okay, so why don't you state your motion again, and then we'll see if there's a second.
Non-residents.
Okay. So so it has 3 parts. First is confirm the assignment of the task of designating the Hopkins Wilderness Park as a historical landmark to the joint fundraising subcommittee. That part is fairly straightforward. Confirm the assignment of the Subcommittee Chairman and Vice Chair, Ilya Klinger, me, the task of reaching out to other commissions, the City Council, and our California representatives, included but not limited to LA County Commissioner Janice Hahn, State Assembly Member Al Murasucci, and State Senator Ben Allen, to take any actions in furtherance of the task on behalf of the Redondo Beach Historical Commission for the purpose of designating the Hopkins Wilderness Park as a California Historical Landmark, and prioritize the discussion of Hopkins Wilderness Park at our February meeting or a subsequent meeting solely if we fail to reach quorum in February.
Okay, so is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, well, we already had public comment in this section, but I'll ask if there's any public comment.
We
Okay,
do not have any public comments.
great. Is there any further discussion?
This would be the further complexity of that motion again would be, as he described earlier, that they could be peeled back. They're just a suggestion. Is that correct?
For this one, it's basically giving the chair of the fundraising subcommittee as well as myself the authority to reach out to city council members and our representatives, not just as an individual, but as part of the historical commission. So, for instance, the gist of it is if you're speaking before city council, you have to state on whose behalf you're speaking. So usually that's why you hear people say, even though I hold this position, I'm here solely for myself. With this motion, I can speak on behalf of the historical commission. So that's primarily it. It doesn't really affect anything else that we do. It just gives me the authority to speak on the commission's behalf.
Solely on that issue?
Primarily on the issue of designating Hopkins Wilderness Park as a California historical landmark.
Solely on that issue?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to defer to Director Koike if she has any thoughts on it, but you guys can have any further discussion on it?
So I guess the only other question I would have would be, is there, as that seemed to have three parts, is there severability in that? Or if we find out that the third part, which you appear to be having some potential reservation with, if that part were to be somehow struck down and found, I guess all I would want to say is the first bit of that is, and maybe the first two bits are easy, no brainers. I just want to, would some issue with the third part of that motion basically have the baby thrown out with the bathwater, for lack of a better way of putting it? Okay, then.
Nope. Traditionally, if there's any issue with it, it would be reviewed by the city attorney, and the city attorney has the discretion, like he can throw out the entire thing. But from my experience with working with attorney Mike Webb, what he usually does is he just says, don't do this part, everything else are fine. So he's very clear on that. And I'm actually glad you asked this question because the discussion shows that we're, as a commission, are open to having it severable.
So if I understand what you just said, Commissioner Klinger, you're willing to have what you just proposed subject to review by the city attorney before you take action?
I don't think there's anything controversial here. So I want to get this going in January. The review to the city attorney is a fairly long process. And I've spoken with a representative from Al Murasucci's office already as an individual, and he said there's nothing really preventing it from going forward. So there's I don't really see a way that we can get in trouble for this at all. I'm just saying in response to Commissioner Pepper's point that if our city attorney or somebody else does point out that part of it is wrong, that they can go ahead and just remove that part without taking the baby with the bathwater. I just rather get this started in January rather than delaying it until our February meeting. Because what if we don't have quorum in February and then it goes to April? And by that point, we've lost steam.
All right. Any other comments, discussion? Yes, Commissioner Russell?
Is there a way, since you're kind of speaking on behalf, Commissioner Klinger, on behalf of our commission here, that you could just kind of share with us what you're going to be reaching out to the councilmen and city council about? Or is it
Designating,
forward?
it's designating the Hopkins Wilderness Park as a historical landmark. I think Chair Morocco asked me if it's going to be solely about that, and I confirmed. So,
Okay, so it's just going to be direct reach out to them to ask for their approval and.
yeah, well, I mean, personally, I can reach out to them privately. So this is more of to speak in public. Like, if it ends up going to the California State Assembly, then I could speak on behalf of the Historical Meeting Commission, provided that we can't really get this approved without the city of Redondo Beach anyway, because they're the owner of the park. And so the rules require the owner to provide their consent. So that's why I'm a little bit confused where Chair Morocco is going here, because it's already baked into the process that the city council would have to approve it.
Yeah, I guess I was getting at maybe like we could come together as a commission and maybe help put together the general commission's thoughts on why, or what goes into that, what you're going to say at these different opportunities or what have you.
Well, primarily that's the subcommittee's task to put it in here, because this is something that's going to have to start in January, and our meeting is in February. So by the time the meeting rolls around, which is mid-February, we would have already lost roughly a month and a half of the time. And the other thing is what I'm saying can always be modified, can always be added on to. I'm always open to new ideas, especially involving social media. So it's not like what I say is going to be set in stone. It simply allows me to say it on behalf of the commission.
Chair Morocco, I do have a question for Commissioner Klinger. What is the general process to have an entity become a historical landmark? Like, what is the final step of that process? Who makes that determination? I don't know, so that's why I'm just asking for myself.
The California Historical Landmark Commission. But we're nowhere near the final process. We're just trying to get the ball rolling. And the first major thing that's going to have to happen is we have to make sure that everyone whose support we need is fairly amenable to it. And then we would need the city council's approval, because the city owns Wilderness Park. And then that would go through the state assembly and state senate. And then I think it's called the California Historical Landmark Commission. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they would have the final call.
Thank you.
Is there an application that you have to fill out?
Yes, but
have you filled it out?
No, because prior to filling out the application, you have to make sure that the key parties are amenable to it. Like, for instance, you'd have to reach out to the city council as the owners of the project, of the property, and say, are you amenable to it? And once they say, yes, we'll give you whatever vote is needed solely on this issue, and you have some of the other commissions involved and some of the other key players involved, then you can go ahead and file the application. Because it's kind of like the subcommittees, a lot of work is done before the application gets filed to ensure the application is smooth sailing. It's also why we submit our subcommittee reports to the commission.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none. We want to do a roll call vote. Do you all recall what, I guess I should ask Cami Bird, who's still on the line, if she got all the pieces to this vote? Okay, she's not responding. So you want to go do the roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Klinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Warstadt?
Aye.
Commissioner Zaremski? Commissioner Russell?
Aye.
Commissioner Pepper?
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Aye.
And Chair Morocco.
Aye. Okay, so that passes. I want to get back to our goal setting, because I do want to give people an opportunity to sign on today if they want to sign on today. And I do want to at least see if there are other possible committees that can be formed. It sounded like we had interest in a technology committee, and I will say that all I gave was suggestions. there's a lot more opportunity once the committee's formed, when they meet, that they can actually create the goals and parameters. So why don't I go through the list again that we've had? Is there any other committees that you can think of that you would like to include other than what I've mentioned already? Okay, not hearing anything. So,
Sure, if I can just make a quick comment.
yes.
I promise I will keep this one quick. With this one, I prefer to have the fundraising subcommittee fully staffed by the end of this meeting, because the other two subcommittees that I'm chairing, probably not much is going to get done until February, but this one is going to start in January. So that's why I want to have it fully staffed. That's the only comment I have right now.
I was just going to go through the list and see if people want to volunteer to be on it. Then I want to actually take a vote on the ones that people want to be on, and then we can wrap this up. So anybody want to volunteer to be on the oral history subcommittee with me? Okay. How about the joint fundraising committee? Anybody? Okay. Commissioner Fernandez, anybody else? And Commissioner Russell. Commissioner Orsad, if you want us to be on anything, just speak up so we know that you're out there. So
Yes, for Wilderness Park.
Is that
is the joint fundraising.
Fundraising, yes.
Okay, so we only, under the Brown Act, we can't have 4 people on a committee, because then you are subject to the public meeting requirements, and which means that we need.
I'll jump off that one.
What?
This is Russell. I can jump off that one if Commissioner Warsaw is interested there.
Thank you. Wow, are you sure?
You got it. There's plenty more options.
Okay.
Amazing. That's amazing. Thank you.
What a gentleman.
So it sounds like you have now your fully staffed your committee.
There still has to be a motion, so I like to make a motion to.
I'm going to get to that at the end when I do everything and on the assignments out, that we have these people be as the committee members on these committees. Okay. Museum fundraising. Anybody want to be on that one? Okay. So how about the traveling museum?
The kids.
Commissioner Warstadt, is that you raising your hand?
No, I'm on the phone. No.
Commissioner Russell, is that you raising your hand?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, as I said at the beginning, we can revisit it at the next meeting for our new commission members who don't necessarily know what their time commitments are or want to think about it and come back to it. I just want to get things started. Moving on to Path of History, the virtual and the North Redondo. Anybody want to be on that?
Quick question for you there.
Yes.
Is the virtual Path of History, so I guess I'm somewhat confused here. So there is in my notes, there is a tech committee coming up. Is that correct?
That's correct. There is a tech committee.
So will the tech committee be overarching to be working with the virtual Path of History, the museum, QR codes and whatnot? Would that, or
there's going to be intersection in a lot of the stuff that we do. So for example, if we're doing the virtual Path of History, it may involve the website, for example, how to get that uploaded to the website. There may be issues with regards to, if we bring it into the museum, I don't see the Path of History with the QR codes. I see that like with the murals and with the actual technology in the museums. But it can be.
I guess that also there's not as if these doors are closed between one another is what I'm getting at. I just don't, if there's one required to work with another, you're not precluded from doing that.
No, and as I said, the way I envision it, because we're meeting every other month, is that the bulk of the work is going to be done by these committees. And they're going to, and every month, I'm going to make a motion at some point that every time we have a meeting, we have a subcommittee report so that we can see where everything intersects. This is very ambitious, and there may be stuff that, you may say at the technology committee that, hey, the QR codes works on all these different things that we may not have thought about before.
Just know that my reason was your mention of the Brown Act, and if one subcommittee and another subcommittee are working together, does that I guess what I'm trying to do is,
yes. If there's
wanna,
more than four commissioners or more on any meeting, it's subject to the Brown Act. There's nothing saying, other than the fact that there's city emergency responses, there's nothing saying that we can't have joint committee meetings. But that would have to be coordinated with our director, and that would have to be with public notice out of a meeting. And so there are certain limitations on it. So if, for example, say I volunteer to do the Path of History, and I'm the only person who's doing it, we've formed the committee, and we have 2 people on the technology committee, all 3 of us can get together and we don't violate the Brown Act.
So is this purely physical get-togethers? So I guess I'm asking based solely upon my own ignorance, and I don't want to get in trouble. Like, is a 5-person email chain breaking the rules?
Yes. And unfortunately, you're not getting the training, and that's one of the staff recommendations I'm going to be making later, that we do provide Brown Act training. But there's certain limitations on communications, even information sharing. If it's not on the agenda and you don't get public notice and you don't have the public involved, yes, it causes risks for you, and there's criminal penalties that go along with it as well. So it's something that we try to abide by. So there's a thing that they call about the chain. So if I send you an email and you send it to Commissioner Fernandez and he sends it to Commissioner Commissioner Russell, and he sends it to Commissioner Klinger, we have now had 5 people into this conversation, so that's a problem. So if we I will tell you that I'm happy to volunteer for the committees to do the stuff as well. But if the numbers work out right, and for example, and the problem is we've always been working with 5 as our commission number. So this is kind of a new thing for us, which means that we're allowed to have 3. But if we drop before a certain number, we have to take somebody off because then we're stuck with not hitting the quorum.
Really?
Yes, Commissioner Klinger.
To Commissioner Pepper's point, we did have a slight issue when the joint fundraising subcommittee and the fundraising subcommittee had different members. So basically we had to exclude one person from each to have a meeting to discuss how those 2 can work together. So there has to be a Chinese wall between the subcommittees and what they're working on. You can't discuss that at all. And the problem is not so much that you're going to get in trouble, but whatever you discuss can get mothballed or just excluded or destroyed simply because you had the discussion. So all of your work would just go away, and that's the critical issue there. So
that was my biggest question. That is 100% my point. That's why I was asking the question. And thank you.
And just realize also we can have, as part of our regular commission meeting, joint subcommittee meetings together during our commission meeting if it's on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay. So
and that will always be on the agenda. The other really cool thing that you can do is you can pick an issue that's really a narrow issue, and you can go to any one of the commissioners, and that commissioner can be your commission buddy on that specific issue. And you can ask him any questions, and they'll answer all your questions to the best of your ability. And as long as you just keep it solely to that narrow issue, that's perfectly fine. That would be
and when we get back together, we're actually allowed to do social stuff. And you'll find out that certain workshops are accepted from this whole thing. So when we did the Claro project, we all got together for that. So anybody else besides me want to do the Path of History?
I'd like to get on there with you, actually.
Okay. Did you want to as well, Commissioner Russell?
Thank you.
There's enough that we may actually be able to break it up into smaller parts, like, for example, the writing part or identifying the North Redondo parts. And so there's, once we get together, we can all discuss that. Okay, so that's, then we have the moment in history. Anybody interested in that? Commissioner Warstad, is that a yes? No? Okay.
I have interest in that.
Okay, Commissioner Fernandez. And I may join you for a couple meetings just so that we get the hang of getting things going. Budget, anybody interested in budget? Okay, Commissioner Fernandez. Commissioner Warstad, is your hand up?
No.
Okay, so Commissioner Fernandez, you got that. Okay, the technology.
Yeah, I would like to be part of that.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Commissioner Fernandez. Okay, I won't be on that because my level of knowledge isn't that great, but I will at least the first meeting sit down with you and kind of go into more detail about things that you may want to look at. How about the website? Anybody? Okay, Commissioner Russell.
Can I ask a question? So
yes.
By raising my hand, am I kind of like starting the subcommittee on the website? That's kind of like from scratch. Is that what I'm volunteering for?
It's a scratch thing. I'm happy to work with you on it to give you some ideas and direction on it.
Well, my only thought was maybe since website and technology are so similar, could we maybe start those two like together and maybe
Sure.
just join the technology group and then maybe we branch off with what specific.
Okay, so I'll put you on that too. So there's 3 of you on that one.
What did I just?
Which one?
On the now it's going to be proposed as technology and website committee. And we can spin off. It turns out that there's such a big amount of work that's there and opportunities. We can spin off, as I'm about to get to the historical mural, which is part of the marketing, we can spin it off and have its own committee as well. So there's always an opportunity for that. So anybody interested in historic murals? Okay, I will volunteer for that one. Ms. Commissioner Fernandez, are you volunteering? Okay. And I think Commissioner Klinger mentioned this as one of his committees, city birthday celebration and special events. Does that fall into what you have already?
Yeah, the city birthday celebration and special events would fall under museum fundraising.
Okay. Anybody want to be, well, do we have museum? Anybody want to be on that part of that?
We don't have anybody on museum fundraising.
We have you.
That is true.
Okay. And then I think I mentioned writing competition, scholarships. Anybody interested in that project to undertake? Okay. Leadership Redondo pitching committee for some of the projects that we were doing. Anybody interested? Commissioner Klinger?
No, I'm not. I'm not expressing my interest. I just want to say that if you do a pitch subcommittee, you shouldn't name it anything else. Like it shouldn't be Leadership Redondo pitch subcommittee. It could only be a pitch subcommittee.
Okay. Anybody want to be on a pitch subcommittee? Okay, I'll volunteer for that. Okay. And again, I would encourage our director to put this on the agenda for any new commission members who want to add or change so we can keep on moving on that. Okay, so as I understand it, and I'm going to look for a motion that we have these following subcommittees. And based on the staffing that we heard and recorded. So we have the oral history subcommittee, the joint fundraising subcommittee, the museum fundraising subcommittee, the traveling museum subcommittee. Did I ask about marketing? If anybody wants to be on marketing? Okay. And the marketing subcommittee does, so can I get a motion to at least continue on with those subcommittees? Yeah.
I would I would prefer that first we make a motion to establish the new subcommittees that you mentioned that have at least one member, because so far we have 6, and out of the ones that were listed, it's a lot more than 6. So if you can just name up the new subcommittees that you're establishing, then I'll make the motion by saying so moved. We'll get a second, and that way we'll have those subcommittees established and start assigning people to them.
Okay. So these are the subcommittees that I've heard people have interest in for the new ones. And I'll entertain a motion that we establish a Path of History subcommittee, a Moment of History subcommittee, a Budget subcommittee, Technology and Website subcommittee, Historical Murals subcommittee, and a Pitch committee.
Subcommittee.
What?
Pitch subcommittee.
Yes. Okay, so is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, then why don't we vote on the motion? If you read the roll.
Commissioner Klinger,
Aye.
Commissioner Worstadt,
Aye.
Commissioner Zaremski, Commissioner Russell,
Aye.
Commissioner Pepper,
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Aye.
and Chair Morocco.
Aye. And since we already voted in the other committees already, what I'm looking for now is a motion to have the people who volunteered to be on those subcommittees to be appointed to those subcommittees.
I'd like to make a motion, and let me know if I accidentally leave your name off, because I typed all this out to the best of my ability, but I'm not like super fast typer. So motion to appoint Commissioners Russell, Pepper, and Chair Morocco to the Path of History subcommittee. Motion to appoint Commissioners Fernandez and Chair Morocco to the Moment in History subcommittee. Motion to appoint Commissioner Fernandez and Chair Morocco to the Budget subcommittee. Motion to appoint Commissioners Pepper, Fernandez, and Russell to the Technology and Website subcommittee. And motion to appoint Chair Morocco to the Historical Mural subcommittee. And motion to appoint Chair Morocco to the Pitch subcommittee. Did I get everyone for the new ones?
Okay, is there a second?
I'd second that motion.
Great. And any further discussion? Okay, all those,
Roll call.
roll call.
Right.
I'm getting tired.
Commissioner Klinger,
Aye.
Commissioner Worstadt,
Aye.
Commissioner Zaremski, Commissioner Russell, Commissioner Russell,
Aye. Can you hear me?
Commissioner Pepper,
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Aye.
and Chair Morocco.
Aye.
One more motion. Now I am going to make the motion to add Commissioners Worstadt and Fernandez to the Historical Fundraising Subcommittee, add Commissioner Russell to the Traveling Museum Subcommittee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Fernandez. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call, sorry.
Commissioner Klinger,
Aye.
Commissioner Worstadt,
Aye.
Commissioner Zaremski, Commissioner Russell,
Aye.
Commissioner Pepper,
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Aye.
Chair Morocco.
Aye.
So at this point, is there anyone who has not been on a subcommittee of their choice? Speak now. We'll hoard your peace until our February meeting where we'll hopefully have quorum.
Okay. So I think we accomplished a lot here. What I would hope that our director can do, or the city clerk staff, since I noticed somebody's still on the line from the clerk staff, to get an email address out to who's ever on these subcommittees so that they can communicate with each other and set up a time for subcommittee meetings. What I would like the subcommittees to do at least is to explore what you would like the parameters of what your project is so that you can report back to us in February what you think you would like to accomplish, if that's okay. I don't think I need a formal motion for that, but I do hope that we will be able to get some communication from our city staff so that we can talk to each other during the 2-month break.
Chair Marocco, just to confirm, you're looking for email addresses?
I think, does anybody have a problem with email communication between each other?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yes. And I will note that when you sent out the invitation, you sent it out to everybody, so we all have each other's email address. So if you don't hear from somebody in a couple weeks, one of you take the initiative that's on any of these subcommittees and reach out to the other people and set something up.
Right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Commissioner Russell just has one quick question.
Yes, Commissioner Russell.
Is there going to be a place where we can view who the members are of these subcommittees just to ensure that we all have that information?
I will leave that to the city staff. I don't know how long it's going to take to turn around the minutes, but I can put something together and email it to Director Koike, who can then transmit it to everybody.
Okay, just to ensure we don't miss anyone on this.
A lot of information. So.
And my suggestion is that we take because of the Brown Act, we kind of have to do this. I would request a motion that we can append to our minutes the communication that's being sent out with regards to who's on what subcommittees.
So moved.
Is there a second? I look at Commissioner Russell seconding. Roll call, please.
My roll call sheet. Commissioner Klinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Warstadt.
Aye.
Commissioner Zaremski. Commissioner Russell.
Aye.
Commissioner Pepper.
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Aye.
And Chair Marocco.
Aye. Okay, I think that wraps up the section on...
Sorry, can I just ask one more quick question?
Sure.
So I'm realizing now that this is my second meeting, and I think this is Commissioner Pepper and Fernandez's first meeting, and I think the three of us are the only members on the technology and website subcommittee. I just want to make sure if there's any like formatting or just like procedural steps that we need to take in our work in that subcommittee. Is there any way we can do that research to understand that, or any guidance that you can give, or is it just kind of we do our best attempt and provide that information to you next meeting?
I'm hoping that what I said during the comments gives you at least some guidance. I don't want to tip you guys into a session where you kind of go beyond the scope of the Brown Act. The only suggestion I would make is you have a director, and if she makes herself available, you can communicate with her at all times with regards to things going on, and she maybe can give you some additional guidance on it, because that's one of the roles of the staff, is to give us technical assistance on it. You're going to be needing to involve her on some of the projects anyway, because the city has an IT department and they may have certain parameters in there. So my suggestion is you set up a time, maybe invite to Director Koike to join you, or at least be accessible to you. She's got a lot of things on her plate right now with all the new commissions that she's been dealing with. So, it's a good opportunity to get to know with her and to work with her, but I can't give anything further than that, because that would be the fourth person on there. Commissioner Klinger, you had a thought?
Well, you can during this meeting. You just because it's a public meeting. So, but my advice would be to reach out to your city councilman, because city council members or Mayor Brand, they're all very responsive to these kinds of inquiries, and they can then reach out to Chris Benson, who I think is the director of IT, Mike Webb, who's our attorney. So, and they would give you feedback. The other one I would say is review some of the minutes, and kind of what served me really well is if you can find something in the minutes that implicitly allows you to do what you're planning to do and it's been voted on, you do it. I have never gotten in trouble for doing any of that stuff. So there's always review the minutes, see if there's been anything passed in the minutes or anything hinted at, and if it's clearly implied, then you can get away with that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact your council person, because you are an official subcommittee of one of Redondo's oldest commissions. So your council person is going to be a lot more responsive to you than it would initially seem. And also don't hesitate to contact Chris Benson if it's an IT issue, or Mike Webb if it's a legal issue.
Okay,
I would also like to point out that our IT department is very responsive, and even in the days of COVID, there's no difference that they're all, that some of them are working from home or working in the office. It's very easy for me to pick up the phone for IT and say, hey, this commission has some ideas, suggestions, or, procedurally, how do we get it done? So, yes, our council members, our mayor, are very approachable, but also it's very easy for me just to ask as well.
So let me just read, maybe this helps you if I read what I had said earlier again, now that you've kind of volunteered for it. And you may not want to eat the whole thing all at one time. You may want to, pick smaller chunks until our next meeting and then ask the general questions. But for technology, I had QR codes, video vignettes, equipment requirements, assessing our needs to deliver telephone accessible audio stories related to museums, items. For website, it was capacity, design. What do we want to add to our site? I would encourage you all, as a preliminary step, to go to the city's website. There's actually a section on historical information. What do we want to add? For example, donations, monetary, non-monetary. Do we want to solicit people to make certain historical documents gift to us, pictures and stories? We talked about links. There's library. We can link to the library. We can link to Historic Society. There are no links right now on the website. Resources, perhaps even historic, suggested readings about Redondo. There's a number of books out there, such as our Arcadia publishing book that talks about Redondo Beach. I just got this one from the library that talks about Mexican Americans in Redondo Beach and Hermosa Beach, which is fascinating. So there's a number of resources that they can talk about. So I'm hoping that gives you some guidance. And hopefully when you come back in February with your thoughts, we can further explore it and push in directions and maybe get some input from some of the other subcommittees on how they want to interact with your committee on regards to museum improvements, QR codes on that. I can tell you with the murals, I've been looking at how do we put a QR code on a mural so that somebody goes to a mural and they can actually take the picture of it and get either a website or an audio story about the thing that they're looking at. So there's a lot of opportunities. It's probably the first meeting, maybe just get familiar with some of the things in the museum. If you haven't been there, there are ways that you can actually check it out online. It has some information about that.
And then one just last comment, each department within the city is pretty much responsible for managing content within their web pages. So if you haven't already gone to the City of Redondo Beach Community Services homepage, under cultural arts is where you will find the Redondo Beach Historical Museum, the Morale House, historical information, and Redondo Beach memories. That changes on that page. I would just have to locate the person who does it for the department, but is basically managed by the department. So that would
be you at this point.
I'm not very good at technology. I'm sure someone does a great job in our department with that, but that might be a nice, easy start because the changes can be made.
Does that help any at all?
Sure does. Yeah.
Okay. And you have any questions, bring it to the next meeting in February and we can talk about it and flesh out more things if that helps as well. Okay. So now I think that takes care of J1. We're moving to J2, which is the director's report.
Yes. I spoke to Chair Morocco about this. I'm actually from the Waterfront and Economic Development Department, working as interim with community services. And this is something that we do for the Harbor Commission. It's just a compilation of updates, or it could be items that have been approved at council meetings, upcoming items, general city items. It's just, the items aren't large enough items to have, individual agenda items, but it's just good information to know. And so I just have a few things for this month. But the first one was at the December 1 council meeting, the council approved a new wood shaker roof for the Morale Historical House. I guess it was a 40-year-old roof that badly needs replacement. The total cost is not to exceed $2,000, which includes a 10% contingency. The contract runs from December 1, 2020 to November 30, 2021, although it should not take a year. But right before the meeting, our Deputy Public Works Director called me to confirm that weather permitting, the project will start in January, and it'll take about 4 to 6 weeks. But he specifically wanted you to know that just because of the type of project that the building will be, the entire house will be scaffolded. So don't be surprised when you see that. And then by February, hopefully we'll have a good update on that. And the Deputy Public Works Director did volunteer to give you an update, or maybe we'll have some photos for you. One of the upcoming council meetings, we don't have a date yet, but there will be an update on the strategic plan. And I can't remember when you actually, Chair, I'm sure that you submitted some things for the strategic plan, but council is currently reviewing what they call a matrix of objectives and goals, and they will select their top 3 objectives per goal, and they'll come back at an upcoming council meeting to discuss that. So I'll be able to share that with you when that occurs. Quick COVID update, as mentioned already, the Historical Museum and the Morale House still closed, as well as our senior centers, Veterans Historic Library, Event Space, Seaside Lagoon, Performing Arts Center. I think the only thing that's changed is the aviation track is open, and playgrounds are again open. So we closed the playgrounds fairly recently, and then that was reversed by the state and the county. So playgrounds are open as of last week. And then in terms of events, Chair Morocco did mention that in the past and hopefully in the future, there will also be on the consent item an events report. But since there are no events going on there, I just mentioned this one item in the director's report. And Chair Morocco, I need some, you mentioned the city's birthday is coming up. Did you have an April date?
Yeah, I think on the man covers that I see around the city, it's like April, and I want to say the 25th 5th or something like that.
Because I'm looking at we have a internal calendar, and has the city's birthday down as January 29.
Okay, well, January 29th.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay, all right. And then obviously our upcoming meeting will be February 17, 2021. And I do have one question for you. History buffs can answer that. So there's a system in the city where residents can write, questions or complaints or concerns. And this is perfect timing. So it came to my department, and it's an inquiry regarding the big anchor. It sits on the corner of Del Amo and Diamond. This woman says she wants on the history of the anchor. Does anyone have any background information? Is it in there?
I believe so. I've heard it on one of the audio recordings for Redondo Speaks.
Okay.
I just listened to it, but that was one of the topics that was discussed. It's from a famous boat, and that was offshore. So
okay.
I can get you the information on it, or we can have it at a moment in history.
Because it literally just came in, and she's hoping she walks past it every day.
That's right by the high school. Yeah. You got moved there.
Perfect.
Actually. Okay, any questions for our director? Okay, so there's no questions. So we are going to move on to the member items and referral to staff. And this tends to be how things get onto the agenda. So you may hear, things like I moved to agendize stuff. So just be aware of that. But if you have any questions or things you want to refer to the staff, this is the time to bring it up. I'm going to start with Commissioner Klinger so that people can see what it's about, and then we'll move around to the other commissioners, and I'll finish it off.
Well, my first motion would be to move to prioritize the Joint Fundraising Subcommittee's discussion of Hopkins Wilderness Park. Well, actually, no, that was already in the motion that was made. So, sorry, I'm also kind of slowly becoming brain dead. Okay, so I move that we have the subcommittee discussion for our next meeting to include all of the subcommittees with... just to include all the subcommittees.
Can I make a suggestion for it?
Yes.
How about to include subcommittee reports for all subcommittees as an agenda item on all agendas through our September 2021 meeting? Reports can be oral or written. However, any written subcommittee reports and attachments should be sent to the staff liaison at least 1 week prior to our commission meeting. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, I just want to make sure that the staff person is comfortable with the 1 week prior to the commission meeting. Does that work for you?
Oh, for your deadline, yes, it is. A week before.
Yeah.
So is that your motion?
I want to make sure the 1 week works first, and if it does, then that would be my motion. And if not, then whatever time works would be my motion.
Let's see.
I think what I'm trying not to do is overwhelm the staff liaison. She's got to usually have another commission meeting the week before. So you can do an oral report, but I think it would be beneficial to at least give her a week's time.
Okay, so if that works, does that work for you, Lori?
Yes.
Okay, so moved.
Any seconds? Is that Commissioner Worstadt seconding? Oh.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Worstadt second. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote then, please.
Actually, for this one, we don't need a roll call. We only need roll call on the main discussion items or controversial items.
Okay, I don't recall that being as part of the process. So I will just say all those in favor of this proposal say aye or raise your hand. How about raising your hands, and you can say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Aye. Okay, so there's anybody abstaining? Okay, so that carries.
For my next referral, I would move to append the Claro report to this commission's to the minutes that are going to be disgraded for this commission meeting. So that way we can finally get the Claro report in the minutes, because that is crucial, and we've been trying to get the Claro report into the minutes for quite some time.
So can I suggest the wording? You're
Sure.
thinking parallel to me, and we're saving time. So, Director Koike, I sent you copies of both the Claro report and the PowerPoint from former Commissioner Eller. How soon can you turn it around and distribute it to the commission members?
I'd have to check. Send it. So I would send it just as a referral.
You just send them the copy of the report.
My motion would be for it to actually be in the minutes. That way, the public.
I'm getting there. I just need to know what the director's comfortable as far as turning it around.
I will. We could add it to the referral list. I don't know about a time.
Like a week would it take to send out that email?
I will do it as promptly as I can.
Okay. So, how about a motion that says that the director will email copies of the Claro report and the Eller 2018 PowerPoint slides to the commissioner as promptly as she can, and append those documents to our minutes from this meeting? Does that sound like what you're proposing?
So moved.
And is there a second? Okay, I'm not hearing a second. So
Commissioner Fernandez.
Commissioner Fernandez has seconded. So just so you know, we spent about $8,000 on this Claro report, and that's why we keep on referring to it. It's city money. It hasn't been seen by the city or the public, and so unless you went to the presentation, and we'll probably be discussing a lot of it during the course of the year. And Commissioner Eller did a PowerPoint that's about 6 pages that kind of goes through a different analysis of it, because he works for a company that has a museum as well. So any further discussion?
I do have a question, Chair.
Yes.
Regarding former Director LaRock, do you recall what his plans were?
He said that he was going to send out a link that was in the either the minutes or the agenda. I wasn't able to find a link, and there should be a reference in the minutes to it. So that's why I sent you with the subcommittee report the actual 2 documents, because I could not find it, and I was hoping that you would send it out so that
he was just planning to do what you're asking me to do now.
Yes.
Sure.
I don't know about the Eller subcommittee, Eller PowerPoint, but that was part of the discussion that led to the Claro process. But yes.
The thing that's critical for me is that it gets appended to the minutes, and I'm not sure if Director LaRock was going to do that. But the reason that I wanted appended to the minutes is because it's something that the public can really easily access, and it would be a link on the city's website as part of the commission's agenda. So it's something very straightforward that any of the historical commissions can link anyone to. And if it's at the very end of the minutes, it would be very easy to find.
Not only that, but I think it also, I don't think the council has actually ever seen it either. And they are the ones who approve the payment of it. So that would be a benefit to the council as well.
Right. So that's one of those things where, of course, I haven't, to be candid, really looked at the Claro report. But again, is that something you could see added to the historical website page, portion of the city's website? Where you would put the link?
We could do that. We could do it as well, but like once it's in the minutes, then I'm sure one of our subcommittees, maybe the technology and website subcommittee, can work with city staff to add that to the link, and then that'll be less work on the city staff too.
Well, I'm sure the discussion would be more meaningful once everyone as Chair Morocco mentioned, is aware, can review the information and understand it. So
Yeah, and the one that I sent you was not color. It was a very well thought out color presentation. So I don't know what Director LaRock had over there as far as color copies, but
yeah, let me go through some files. I'm sure it might be beneficial to have that.
yeah, but I think it's because we spent money on it and we only heard it like last August. This is something that we were talking about for a couple of years. It went to the council before to get the approval to spend the money. They actually, I think, put it out to bid. So it was like a multi-year process, and it's kind of may consume some of our work and help some of the other subcommittees come up with ideas. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Again, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Anybody abstaining? Okay, so everybody voted in favor that are present. Do you have something else, Commissioner Klinger?
No, that's about it.
Great. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. We send out stuff to the staff. So I'll start with you, Commissioner Fernandez. Do you have any staff referrals that you would like?
Not at this time, this being my first meeting.
First meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Warstadt, anything that you would like to send out for staff referral?
Not at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Pepper?
I don't have anything.
Commissioner Russell? Can't hear you.
Sorry, no, I don't.
Okay. So I have only a small number of things that I want to cover. First, I would like, and maybe we can come to an understanding, but I would like to include as consent calendar items on all agenda through our September 21 meeting, 7 items: the affidavit of posting approval, the minutes approval, the donation fund report, the museum visitation report approval, the Arcadia publishing royalty statement, the moment of history, and the events calendar. I don't know, Director Koike, if that's something that you are willing to agree to, but I can have it as a formal vote if that's something that the commission wants on there.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at. I mean, that's, as I mentioned, that is why some of these items weren't on there. So the museum visitation report, obviously, I didn't pursue that because the museum is currently closed. Obviously, once the museums are open, that does make sense. The Arcadia publishing royalty statement, I don't know anything about that. So I think, I know why you want these on there. It just depends on if I'm able to, provide you with the correct information for some of these. So.
Just a quick note comment about the moment in history. I believe that's just something that Chair Morocco would send to you and you would just include it. So I would like to have something like that in the consent calendar because it's something that's not very time consuming and quite informative. And we've always had that.
Okay, is that your motion then to include in consent calendar the moment of history on all agendas through September 21?
For December 21.
What?
For December of 21.
December 21. I was doing it through the fiscal year or the commission year. Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Russell. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of having the moment of history as part of the consent calendar through December 21 meeting on all agendas, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, based on that, it passes.
Sorry, Chair Morocco, just a quick comment. Could you read what could have been this week's moment of history, just so that the other commissioners get a taste of what it's like?
I we're at 9:15. I really, if they want to, after we finish with all the referrals, I'm happy to read it. But
Okay.
my goal is to run as prompt and crisp a meeting as possible, and I've exceeded my permission from this group, so I want to just kind of wrap it up so that they can get on with their lives too. Okay, so the next item that I want to ask about is the presentation announcement section. The City Council has a presentation announcement section, and I would like to see on our agendas that we can include an invited guest to make a 10-minute historical presentation to the commission, and that we would get the name of the guest, the topic or outline of the presentation, and any written material that needs to be included sent to the staff liaison by the Oral History Subcommittee at least 2 weeks prior to the meeting.
That I will have to check in with the city clerk's office. I think I mentioned to you that we now have a very specific system of how agendas are made. Unlike the older days where it was a Word document, we could add anything we want in there. There's a specific commission template. It's basically what you see. And I can't just go in and add because it's protected. So that is something that I would need to ask.
Okay, because it's on the City Council agenda.
That is correct, but
and it's been on ours in the past. So why don't
probably when
I
it was Word
entertain that motion subject to the city clerk, and I see there's a representative city clerk's approval of it. How does that make it easier?
Oh, it would have to be that. There's no
Okay.
way that we could make that change.
What part of the agenda is this going on?
It'll be presentation and announcements like we always had in the past, and like the City Council has at the beginning of a meeting.
Okay, so moved.
A second?
Second.
It's got Commissioner Russell. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any- Similar to the Clara report, I would like a motion to agendize at our February 2021 meeting, a 10-minute discussion to address any questions and thoughts from the commissioners about the Clara report and allow for public comment on it. I think it may be that if there's no discussion, maybe there's some discussion, but if we're going to send out this report that we spent money on, at least have on the agenda an opportunity for our commissioners and the public to comment on it.
You don't need the public comment part to be in the motion. That's automatic.
Okay. I would like to put it in there so that it provides them an opportunity. So what's your motion, Commissioner Klinger?
My question is, would we be able to keep it to 10 minutes? Because, and it's partly my fault, but today we've slightly exceeded a lot of time. So I'm just wondering if it would be feasible to keep that to the 10-minute limit.
Fellow commissioners, do you have a problem with? I think we can. And we may move to gag you, so you won't be able to comment on it. But
I'm actually
but it's for the benefit of the commissioners who haven't seen it, as well as the public who hasn't seen it. So, is there a motion?
I am not really planning to comment on it because I've seen it and spoke at length about it when it was received. So, and I think that's in the minutes. Okay, so my motion is to set aside 10 minutes for a discussion of the Clara report that can include members of the public.
At the February 2021 meeting?
At the February 2021 meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Pepper. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of including that 10-minute discussion on the Clara report at our February 2021 meeting, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, so the motion carries unanimously. Okay, I've got a short list left. This is for the benefit of our director. It's a carryover from the last meeting. Director LaRock stated he would consult with the city attorney about solicitations of funds from non-community members. I think it's a hanging item from the last meeting, so if you can follow up with it, that would be great. Director LaRock also, we discussed with him reporting to us about any climate-controlled storage for our fragile historical documents so that they're not subject to the dampness in the winter and the heat in the summer. And if there's nothing to report at this meeting, then perhaps you can follow up to find out if there's other on-site storage options that will, like, for example, prevent sprinkler water damage to all of our stuff in the museum. So those are two, and then two new items. All of us commissioners get business cards from the city, and I know there was a problem with that in the past. So if you can report to us at the next meeting what the clerk's office is doing with regards to the business cards, or if you know now.
I did read, where was it? Yes, the city clerk's office was working on, business cards, because they are also working on individual redondo.org email addresses for all commissioners. There are some items or issues that they are working through, and I did see this very recently. So if there is anything new to report in February, I will. At this time, I do not have anything else to report.
Okay.
I do recall that.
Okay. We have in the past at this commission have requested Brown Act training for our new commissioners. And I don't think that they're offering that as citywide as they've done in the past. So can we explore, or you explore with the city attorney, how we can get it as part of our meeting so that our new commissioners at least will learn about the Brown Act and find out what the pitfalls are?
I will inquire with the city clerk's office.
Okay. And then my last point is, so our former chair, Albert Ares-Mendez, was a big advocate of the moment of history. And I would think it would be nice to title the moment of history the Albert Ares-Mendez moment in Redondo history, but I have no way of reaching out to the family to find out if they're okay with that concept. And I was hoping that somehow somebody in the city could reach out to them and find out. And I don't know, it doesn't have to be you, but if somebody's been in communication with the family to see if they're okay with us naming that moment of history after him.
He was on one of my subcommittees, so I can reach out.
Okay. Are you volunteering to reach out?
Sure.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, our former chair died last year, so he was a real big advocate of that. I think that takes care of all my items on the referrals.
You did remind me of one item, though. We had a really cool document. It's a Redondo Beach letter that was signed by 5 presidents telling us how awesome we are. So, and then we talked about like designing a case for it to store it. So is there any updates on that? And if not, would it be possible to have an update on that by our February meeting? It's one of a kind, really.
I will point out that it is actually in our minutes. There's a discussion by Director LaRock saying if we get enough money, then it will take place. I don't know where we are. He was supposed to give us an idea of what the estimate is. He didn't do that. So just know that.
I do have a question for you, Chair. You mentioned $200 earlier. Which fund is that?
I thought that was from your report.
$200? Oh.
I'm looking.
We're a lot of reports.
It was on your report for after the minutes. Let's go.
Oh, the fund.
F3. $653.18.
Okay, but that's the same fund you're talking about.
Yeah, I picked up the
Okay.
224 from the closing balance from last year.
Got it.
Okay, so you will be able to at least follow up on the president's letters. It's in the minutes from the last meeting. There's like several minutes as well that talk about it starting in 2019.
It's the coolest document that we have, so we really have to preserve it because it's just awesome.
Where is it now?
It's, I think, with the library. Last time I checked, I'm not sure.
I don't think they have it anymore. Susan Anderson in the library would probably know where it is, but I think it came back to us and it was taken control by Joyce because there were some restrictions. It was brought to a meeting. So I think we have it somewhere.
Okay.
Either in the museum or in storage at the Performing Arts Center or...
All right. So I've made notes of this. I just, want, like for this last one regarding the president's letter, I do want to, I think, remind you that in terms of community services admin, I'm the only full-time person and there's no Joyce anymore. So a lot of times these items, it just takes a lot longer to figure out, right? So I will do my best. And obviously, Chair Morocco and I will touch base prior to the next agenda, but I just want to be, I want to start off being honest, right? It's just, this isn't I'm new to this department. There is no longer a cultural arts manager that took care of a lot of these things. So just finding day-to-day information just takes longer. So,
and as I told you before, I'm willing to help you roll up my sleeves and do some of the background research. And you've already seen that I've sent you templates and previous reports. So I'm happy to go dig up the stuff and send to you. Just tell me what you need me to help you with, and I'm happy to do it.
all right, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, so we have now moved to the section L, adjournment. Our next historical commission meeting is to be held at 7 p.m. on February 17th, 2021 in the Redondo Beach Council Chambers at 415 Diamond Street, Redondo Beach, California, via teleconference. So what I'm looking for now is a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Pepper, thank you. Anybody seconding it?
Second.
Great. And I think this one does require a roll call.
Last for the evening, Commissioner Klinger, Commissioner Warstadt, Commissioner Warstadt,
Phone's breaking up, sorry.
Commissioner Zaremski, Commissioner Russell,
Aye.
Commissioner Pepper,
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Aye.
Chair Morocco.
Aye. And I do want to apologize for this meeting going longer, but I think it was a productive meeting. We learned a lot about the people. Our usual meetings will probably be an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. So I do apologize. And with that, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at approximately 9:29 p.m. Thank you for all attending today.
Yes, and before you go, we'll see you in the new year. So everyone have very enjoyable and safe holiday.
Merry
Thank
Christmas, Happy New Year, and happy any other holidays that you might be celebrating.
All the others. Okay.
Thank
Same
you.
to all of
Happy
you guys.
holidays.
Take care.